All right, pilgrims. Time for y'all to amscray from these here lands.
Is he for real? Like, for serious?
All right, you pilgrims have until the count of three. One, two, 2.5, 2 3/4.
Whoa. I did not see that one coming. Did you? Well, it's a good thing I've always been more of a fan of Clint Eastwood. Am I right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Ned Talk. Today we will be discussing Native American representation in the media. Fun stuff. As you all know, since the early dawn of cinema in the United States, the Western has been a particular favorite genre for many an early film viewer. I myself even have some fond memories watching Westerns with my grandfather when I was younger. In fact, my love of Westerns is what always made me excited whenever me and my friends would play cowboys and Indians. Now, everyone always wanted to be the cowboy because, well, they were the heroes in the westerns. So you wanted to be the heroes. Well, no one really wanted to be the Indian because they always represented the bad guy. Thinking back on these experiences and thoughts many years later actually has me amazed at how much just seeing natives in movies colored my perception of natives in my everyday life at that point, and really goes to show just how much media representation of natives can affect how people perceive them. Honestly, it's kind of sad, really, that a lot of us, when we were younger, had this image of Native Americans being this certain way thanks to Hollywood stereotypes and poor representation through film and television that really is heartbreaking. In fact, let's be honest, a lot of us who grew up on old westerns and classic cartoons have seen this depiction of natives time after time, again and again. In fact, we're going to call this depiction a real engine. That's REEL, real. Alright, take notice that the real engine always seems to personify and portray several tropes and stereotypes that are always seen within the Hollywood sphere of representation of natives, such as the noble savage, the savage, Tonto Talk, magical native, the spirit guide. And moving on to the representation and portrayal of native women within these films, they were always relegated to being some kind of tribal maiden or the chief's daughter who was always portrayed as ahead of her time or more forward thinking in a European sense compared to the rest of her tribe, that she always felt like an outsider within her tribe. And that's very racist and kind of sexist when you consider they were always relegated to the role of the love interest of the blank slate protagonist or the protagonist's friend. Taking all this into account, natives also seem to always be portrayed as having either beads, buckskin, braids, feathers, war paint, any what have you that would always seem to be associated with how a native would look in these films, and that's barely even true in some cases. In fact, what we would have to look at is a real native. Now, when I say real native, I want you to take that with the biggest grain of salt you can find because there really is no one real native depiction. There are multiple upon multiple cultural iconographies and images and looks that come from all the varying tribes that have existed in the United States. Though recently I have actually been seeing more films with positive portrayals of natives. Films such as Smoke Signals, which at its core is the universal tale of how a man affects his son and his pseudo son as they grow into men themselves, or Powwow Highway, a classic take on the road trip movie, while also having themes of traditional Native American spirituality clashing with the more modern Native activist of the then 80s who was more concerned with ensuring that his people wasn't continued getting the raw end of the deal that was promised to them by the American government. Or Artanajuat, the Fast Runner, an Inuit legend that is filmed and presented in the actual Inuit language that is shot just so beautifully that you'd swear you were watching history unfold right before your eyes. Really, I could go on about how these three films alone have just been a godsend in terms of representation of Native Americans. But I've bored you enough. I'm Jordan Jackson, and this has been my Ned Talk. And please enjoy your next presenter.